Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of Vanderpump Rules, Season 7, Episode 13, Reptilian Brain. This whole week I am going to be filming myself while watching the show. I am super excited about this whole week. We are closing out the season of New Jersey and we are opening the next season of New York City. So it's a big week. I hope you guys are super excited like I am. But right now, I am excited to see the next installment of Vanderpump Rules. Let's get started. So right away, we open up with James driving in the car, and he calls Sandoval to invite him golfing. He said he had already tried reaching Jax and that Schwartzy was invited too. So apparently the guys are going to go golfing the next day. So then Sandoval says, I don't know if you know this, but apparently Lala and Randall broke up. And James goes, well, that's not surprising. And then to the confession camp. He truly is the best at the confessionals, right? I mean, does anybody else even compare, including housewives? I don't think so. He goes, 78-year-old boring fat Hollywood producer breaks up with 26-year-old actress wannabe? Oh, I'm so surprised that didn't last. 78. Oh my God. Okay, so the next scene is at Brittany and Jax's apartment. Katie and Lala come over. First, Katie comes over, and she's got baby bottles to drink her Tito's out of. Yeah. So they're comforting her because she broke up with Randall, right? So then Lala comes over, and they're like, are you okay? Brittany's like, we got your baby bottles to drink vodka out of. Katie's like, how are you? And she goes, well, it lasted all of 17 hours. We're back. Randall returned her Gucci slides. And they're back. And now the next day is going to be a premiere of the movie The Row that Rand produced and Lala stars in. I sort of remember seeing it. Where did I see it? Like Netflix or Redbox or something? I don't know. I kind of remember seeing an ad for it, but I never, well, it's not my kind of movie anyway, because it looked like a scary movie, but, I don't know. I'm going to assume maybe it didn't do super well. You know what's funny? If he's producing stuff like that and he produced Gotti and that was a huge flop, he had to have done something that was a success, right? Otherwise, why is he so filthy, filthy rich? Or do producers that even make flops still make a lot of money? I don't know. I'm sure you guys, if you know, will tell me in the comments down below what successful movie was Randall a part of. I would like to know. I suppose I could do the research, but I'm lazy. Okay, now we are at Vanderpump Dogs. Stassi and Beau and Schwartz are bringing their dogs in. Stassi and Beau bring their two dogs to get groomed. And Schwartz's dog just was groomed the day before. Only needs a bath because it rolled around in a dead bird. And he's holding the dog up in his arms. That would not happen. If Olive rolled in a dead bird, I would be worried about whatever diseases that bird might be carrying. I wouldn't want to be, nuzzling and cuddling my dog. Anyway, that was just to help set up the scenario of all of them sitting with Lisa and talking about the girls' trip. Lisa asked, and did everyone have fun? Stassi tells her, well, yeah, everyone except Kristen, and mostly it's because she's a horrible traveler, but she's also having trouble with Carter. Oh, well, that is a shame. I found Carter to be a stabling influence in her life. And I don't know if this was weird editing, but Stassi's like, well, And then we just moved on to another topic. So I don't know why she didn't just say, yeah, Carter's not who you thought he was. Because I thought like Lisa. I was so happy for Kristen with Carter, and it seemed to be a long relationship, and he just seemed kind of even keel, and I thought that's exactly what she needed. I guess, there's always more under the surface than we know about. Anyway, Schwartz brings up the fact that Beau's mother is coming into town, and she is a relationship therapist, so she's going to give like mini sessions to everybody. Oh man, that should be interesting. Okay, next we are at Ariana and Sandoval's apartment, and they are talking about, I think, hearing back from I don't know if it's a banker or what. I think maybe they're trying to get a loan for a house. And oh my God, the apartment, they've got to get out of that apartment. That's the one where when they run the air conditioning, which is like a window unit, when they run the air conditioning, they can't use the microwave or something else. So I just feel like they have two incomes from Vanderpump Rules. And now Sandoval is part of TomTom. So I really feel like there's no excuse for why they don't at least get into a better apartment. Now, Ariana says she doesn't want to just spend more rent. Rent is just throwing money away every month. So that's fine. I understand it. But then, yeah, you guys need to buy a house. The other problem is that Sandoval brings up having a baby. When they talk about a house, he said, I would like it to at least have an extra room or two just for the possibility in the future of having children. And she's just kind of rolling her eyes. There's a little bit of a funny thing with the confessional where she says, when people start talking about babies, I just like put my AirPods in and zen out listening to classical music, and then I don't feel like I want to kill somebody. So finally, he's like very tentatively saying to her, so is that something you might be open to, whether it's adoption or whatever? I would like to raise a child in the future. Could you think about that for maybe the distant future? And she kind of rolled her eyes, and he said, people have been, talking about it. She goes, people have been talking about it? Who? Well, Jax brought it up. And she's like, oh my God. People need to stay out of my uterus. And in the end, she says it's nobody's business. And she's angry. We have a little montage of all the times that people have asked Brittany and Lisa and a realtor when they were looking at a house. So she has said no every single time. I think she's being pretty clear. I also think Sandoval is being pretty clear. I don't see how these two move forward. If they buy a house together, then someone is being delusional. Either Tom, who thinks that one day she will change her mind and want to have a kid, or Ariana, who thinks that Tom is going to be okay never being a father. They're both delusional. It's going to get to a point where Tom being an uncle to, all his friends' kids is not going to be enough. I just think neither of them are listening to each other right now, hoping that it's not true, because they're not ready right now to have children. So, it hasn't reached critical mass, but I think they're both just pushing off that discussion because it isn't critical right now. And I think that's a mistake. Just their body language, it doesn't seem like either of them will be happy changing their viewpoint for the other. How does Jax have a job at SUR? As a bartender, at least. Brittany walks up to him and said, "Hi, Jaxie. I need a Tito's and soda and a Diet Coke." I'm thinking, oh, good, it's an easy order. Jax comes back with Tito's and soda and a rosé. Oh, sweetie. What? You can't understand why Lisa keeps hiring James back? You think she can't find a better bartender than you? So the rest of that scene was just seeing Jax eating his dinner out in the back and getting the call from James to invite him to play golf. And he said yes, even though he doesn't like James. But greens fees are expensive and the other guys are there. So I don't know. It was kind of jerky. I mean, if you don't like him, don't go. The next scene is Lala and Stassi going to a hair salon. Lala is, I don't know if she's getting ready right now for the premiere, but her premiere is coming up for her movie. And Stassi saying, I can't believe it. I've never had a friend who was like starring in a movie and in my favorite genre, horror. So they talk about how she met Rand and it's just... It is just a fairy tale beginning. He came into Sir. He inquired about her and asked if she was an actress, and she referred him to her Instagram account where she's got a picture of her naked backside, which of course looks spectacular. But she got a call the next day that she had an audition. They went out after the audition with a couple of friends, and she had sex with him that night. And the next day she had a Range Rover. Just like Cinderella. Okay, so now we're golfing with the guys, and James is clearly trying to get in good with the boys, and he even says to the confessional that Lisa won't give me back my job until I prove that I'm taking steps. So he thinks that the guys are going to somehow tell Lisa that, yeah, James is really making an attempt here. So I don't know. That seemed like a little bit of a stretch to me, but maybe it'll work. Anyway, they stop at one point, and Sandoval said, hey, listen, guys, I would appreciate it if I don't want you guys to bring up the subject of having kids anymore. And Jack said, bring it up with who? And he said, with me, with Ariana. It just, the more everybody talks about it, Brittany, everybody, the more they talk about it, the more Ariana's going to give a definitive no. He thinks that if nobody says anything, she might be open to the idea. But the second that people say things, that she's like doubling down on her no. To the confession cam, Jax is like, I'm sorry. So you're saying if I never bring up having children, that Ariana is just going to be knocking kids out left and right? I don't think so. So then Schwartz says to him, whenever Katie talks about it, that makes me back away even further. But you know what you have to do? You have to give Ariana an ultimatum. Sandoval's like, no way. Schwartz, I'm just kidding. Confessional, Schwartz, I was not kidding. He goes, those ultimatums get things done. The next scene is all the girls minus Lala at this restaurant called Lock and Key, and they have just come from the movie premiere of The Row, and they watched it with Lala. Oh, but I forgot to mention that when she was getting her hair done, Lala told Stassi that after the premiere, she was just going to go out with Rand alone. So they're all talking about the movie and, oh, can we just say how great Lala was? And everyone's like, yes, she was great. Ariana said, Lala was the best part of that movie. To the confession cam, Kristen said, the genre of the movie is like college slasher hot girl. Can that be a genre? Yes, it can, and it is. So what's going on at this dinner now is that the conversation has turned to the fact that Beau's mother is coming into town, and she's going to, talk to everybody about their relationships. And Stassi said, I want you, Kristen, to be very honest with her about what's going on with you and Beau. And Kristen said, I am always very honest about everything. And she said, things are great right now. Financially, things are great. He's paying for things and, all that. Well, Katie just has a mean way about her. Maybe she can't even help it. She's terse, One of the things that is good about Brittany is that she has a soft and gentle approach when she talks to somebody, even about difficult things. And Katie's very abrupt. Katie just puts it out there and she doesn't care how it sounds or if it comes off mean or anything. Well, she doesn't care, or she's incapable of being more diplomatic. I don't know. Kristen said, yeah, he prepped it. He went and, I don't know if he went to the store and bought a bunch of stuff for dinner and prepped it and all that. Katie goes, did he take your credit card? Like that. Kristen goes, don't be rude. I'm not. It's just that I hate to hear that all the time from you. And anyway, Stassi doesn't think that she's being honest. Stassi said to Kristen, when it's in front of a whole group, you always say, well, yesterday was a good day. And when it's like one-on-one, yesterday was the worst day ever. I just feel like you are not being honest with your emotions here. Kristen is telling them that she is, and I think she's getting a little irritated. I feel bad. To the confessional, Kristen said, if I ever get married, it's going to be to Carter. I'm getting old, and I need the support of my friends. It was so sad. Oh my God, I am like stupidly emotional about that scene with Stassi meeting Beau's mom. They're at they're like out on a pier. It's an outdoor restaurant. And she meets her for the first time. And then at one point, Beau leaves to go to the bathroom and he goes, I'm leaving the voice recorder on. Please don't embarrass me, he says to his mom. And he walks away, and Stassi tells her how much she loves Beau, and his mom said, thank you for telling me that, because I love him too, and I feel that urge to say, don't hurt my son. But even before that, before he left, Stassi was telling her how they met, and she said that her friends introduced her to him, but that they showed him Stassi's picture, and he said no. And his mom said, well, that should tell you something, because you are obviously a beautiful girl. And that is not what motivates him. What motivates him is what kind of person you are. And so for him to choose you now or want to be with you now should mean something to you, that it has nothing to do with your looks. It's the kind of person you are. And so then Beau tells her, oh, yeah, she's my best friend. And Stassi goes, you never told me that. And he said, well, because if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. So, oh my gosh. Then, to the confession cam, Beau listens to that tape of what they said while he was gone for the first time. Stassi says, I hope that you are my mother-in-law one day. And his mother said, oh, well, that makes me feel so good. And, that she would be happy to have Stassi as her daughter-in-law. And Beau almost looks like he's tearing up. And he said, yeah, I think the conversation went well. Oh, my God. The whole thing was so, sweet and poignant. And I don't know why it made me cry. I am happy for Stassi. I really am. Now, for those of you who don't like her, I did not watch Vanderpump Rules when it first started. I've only seen the last 3 or 4 seasons, maybe only 3. So I don't know the really evil Stassi, the real mean girl Stassi. I don't know her. I only know this Stassi, and I'm rooting for her. Now we are back at SUR, and Katie and Brittany are on duty, and Brittany is having surgery the next morning. So she said, it's 10 o'clock now, and I can't eat or drink anything from this point on because tomorrow's my surgery. And she's having all 4 of her wisdom teeth pulled. The only other surgery she ever had was her breast implants, and she said that Jax was not very helpful during that recovery. He wasn't very attentive to her. Well, she said, now that we're engaged, I expect hand and foot. I think she means to wait on her hand and foot. Then she says to Katie, what would happen if I just had a little water? It's like, well, they don't want you to drink anything with the anesthesia because, and Brittany goes, because they're afraid I'll pee myself. I think they're more concerned that you might asphyxiate yourself. Oh, side note, the new SUR DJ is DJ Mickey. Yeah, he's the one that was doing the girls' night on Tuesday, the girls' night in. I thought it was just for that, but no, I guess he's been hired as the new DJ. Okay, so also Sandoval is working behind the bar, and Schwartz comes in just to visit. Lisa comes in to check in, and she's like, what are you doing here? Well, now that I have you both, what's happening with the terms sheet I gave you? And Sandoval's like, oh, well, we wanted our lawyer to look at it, and he's out of town right now. So, and she's like, Lisa, let them have a lawyer look at it. I do not think that's unreasonable. They're looking to open TomTom in 10 days, though. And she said, I can't very well call it TomTom if they're not on board. So I need to know. And then she says to them, you better hurry up because Jax James is looking very good right about now. Jax James. All right, so we start this scene with Jax being very sweet and taking care of Brittany. He's leading her out of the car after her surgery. She's still kind of out of it. he was putting lip gloss on her, I think while they were still there. And the doctor's like, oh, you're doing her lip gloss, which I totally understand. Because if you have ever had those kind of surgeries, even after a cleaning at the dentist, your lips feel so dry and cracked. And from being stretched out, it's terrible. And I totally understood that. So I'm defending that one. And then, he's reading the instructions, giving her meds and all that. So she's up in the bed, and then he goes downstairs, and Schwartz and Katie come over, and Ariana comes over. Ariana just goes upstairs real quick to say hi to Brittany, and then comes back down. I don't know where anybody else is or why this group is gathered, because Sandoval's not there. Ariana asks, are you going to Kristen's? I think that Beau's mom is staying with Kristen. She must have an extra bedroom or something. So he said, I don't think I should. She's not really, I'm kind of afraid to leave Brittany alone right now. She's still pretty out of it. And Ariana said, oh yeah, no, I totally get that, yeah. So then he says, hey, listen, I'm sorry about bringing up the whole baby thing. I didn't really mean anything about it. It was just we were celebrating my birthday and that conversation got brought up and I didn't mean anything about it. And Schwartz is like sucking on his inhaler and into the confession cam. Schwartz is like, yeah, this is typical Jax. Leave it to Jax to apologize for talking about babies and then talking about babies. And he's right, because then Jax goes on to defend the point he was trying to make by saying, I just think it's something you guys need to sort out. Brittany and I, before we got engaged, before we even really got too serious, we talked about what we wanted in the future. Do we want to have children? How many? That kind of thing. And I just think that's a conversation you need to have before you go any further or, like buy a house together. Ariana said, yeah, well, I'm buying that house. And if he wants to buy me out in the future, he can buy me out, but I'm staying there. Okay, good job, Jax. Do you think Ariana is not going to mention this conversation to Tom? Oh, I think I might have been wrong. Maybe it's just that Kristen opened her home to have the relationship workshop there. Because everybody is coming over to Kristen and Carter's apartment right now. And Beau's mom is coming with Beau and Stassi. So I guess it really didn't make sense that she was staying with Kristen. I must have heard that wrong from the beginning. Not surprising. So Beau's mom starts the workshop. And she said, normally I just have people ask me if they have any relationship questions. But I think I'm going to teach you all something today. So first of all, let's start with the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain only has two things to concern itself with: whether someone lives or dies. That's it. That's all they think about. And then Bravo zeroes in on Lala and she's like, I wonder if the reptilian brain is the only part of my brain I have left. Because I have been acting crazy lately. Then we move over to Ariana and she's like, maybe it was my reptilian brain that made me want to stab Jax for talking about me not wanting to have kids. And Kristen's like, Issa is right. I have something inside me that wants to just lash out and act crazy. Wait, Adam is there? So Sheena and Adam are in enough of a relationship that they're going to this thing? I don't know, I'm sorry. Adam looks like an 8th grader in history class, bored out of his freaking skull. He looks like a kid who's wondering why he has to do homework on the weekend. Oh my God, okay. Issa is done talking, and now they're milling around eating whatever. Ariana and Sandoval are in the kitchen, and Ariana said, so Jax and Tom were telling me about how at your birthday party, oh, it was Tom's birthday, not Jax's. Sorry, got that wrong. At your birthday party, you said about having kids that, well, if Ariana doesn't want to have kids, that's a deal breaker. And I was thinking, oh, I didn't hear Jax say that. Then we get 4 hours earlier, and we see that, oh my God, it was Tom Schwartz that said it. Schwartzy, you just accused Jax of making a big, huge error by bringing up the children thing. And then you're the one that has to go on and say that Tom Sandoval said it was a deal breaker? That's almost the worst part of this whole thing. They're nuts. Okay, this conversation with Tom and Ariana takes a turn I did not expect, and I have to admit, by the end of it, I feel like I learned something. First, I'm mad because after Ariana says that, she then says, I mean, listen, if that's the case, then there's the door. Nobody's holding you hostage in this relationship. And I thought, okay, don't do that. Don't act like you don't have any feelings for him. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you could leave and it wouldn't bother me at all. And I also feel like he does care more about her than she does about him. But anyway, here's how things change. He said, I'm really sorry that I said it like that, because that wasn't fair of me. This is something that I don't even see as being, anything to worry about. I just feel like we're like 5 years out from that. And she said, well, I thought you said you were 10 years out. And then to the confession cam, he goes, okay, so her telling me she thought it was 10 years out tells me that in 10 years, I can broach the subject with her and there's a chance. Okay. Let's not do this when you're 50, guys. Anyway, where things turned around is that he said, when the time comes that I am ready, I'm going to do this. And you can control how involved you want to be in that child's life. I want to be a dad. That is unequivocal. I want to be a dad. I am going to be a dad when I'm ready. And at that time, you can decide if you want to be a part of it, if you don't want to be a part of it, how much you want to be a part of it, or if you don't want to be a part of me anymore, if you don't want to be a part of us. That will all be your choice. And she just gets this big grin on her face and she said, I love how we're handling this. What I learned is that I looked at this pretty provincially. I looked at it like the others were looking at it. If you guys aren't on the same page, you need to break up. And the fact of the matter is, maybe they don't. Children need love in their life. They need an adult who will take care of them and nurture them and teach them and love them. Is it ideal to have two? I mean, I used to think so. I used to think a child would be more fulfilled and well-rounded to have a male and a female. And I really don't think that anymore. I think a child just needs love. And if that love looks like one parent, so be it. If that love looks like two parents, great. I now no longer feel like a single parent is a less than. So yeah, I'm a little embarrassed that I had the first thought. Thank you, Vanderpump Rules. Who would have thought I would become more involved by watching Vanderpump Rules? A show that I was pretty much sure was just atrophying my brain has actually made it grow. Next, we see Stassi and Katie. They sort of wander off to Kristen's bedroom to talk quietly, I guess. They're sitting on the bed. And Carter comes in. And Carter said, hey, guys, I'm going to sit here too. So he sits down on the bed. And the three of them are talking about his relationship with Kristen. And he's like, why are you two coming after our relationship? And Katie said, I only regurgitate what she tells us about you. I then am saying the same things I hear back to her or to Stassi. And Stassi said the same thing. And he said, but of course she's only going to tell you the bad things when we go through stuff. But we've been together for 3 years. And he goes, how long have you and Tom been together? And she said 8 years. And he said, yeah, and you've had your ups and downs. And I know Beau is a new relationship for you. And I couldn't be happier for you guys. But I've been with her for 3 years now. There's been a rocky patch. There's going to be times like that. But you don't support her and my relationship. And meanwhile, Kristen's getting a little one-on-one counseling from Issa out on the balcony. And then Carter says to them, she comes to me with stuff because you guys are so rude to her. Why are you like that to her? And they both hop off the bed and they're like, how dare you? Oh, Carter, that was the wrong thing to say. Now the people in the living room can hear what's going on, and they're like, oh my God, it sounds like the Thunderdome in there. Anyway, Stassi's like, you're trying to tell me that she comes home and gets in fights with you because she's mad at us too. And Carter's like, yeah, because you guys are scary. I mean, he's not wrong. Okay, now Kristen comes into the room and Stassi's like, okay, he's saying that the reason you two fight is because of us two. And Kristen goes, okay, first of all, stop yelling in my house. Katie, oh yeah, right, because you two do enough yelling here. Girlfriends like to vent to each other. And sometimes it's about their husbands and significant others. So that's supposed to be kind of sacred. And also, if your friend gets back with him, you kind of have to go with it. Unless it is truly emotionally or physically abusive. I think there's a line there. Kristen ends up getting so angry, she walks out of her room. So now it's still just Carter and Katie and Stassi. And they need to walk away too. This is not good. Also, I'm thinking now, this is not a good look for Stassi in front of her future mother-in-law, right? They can't get past the fact that Carter is saying that they are the cause of the fights between Carter and Kristen. And Carter said, yeah, because when she's with the two of you, she comes home and because you're so mean to her, you're so bitchy, then she like vents to me about it and we get in an argument. And one of them said, she's constantly telling us bad stuff about you. Carter says to them, all you hear is the bad stuff. You have no idea about the good stuff. Katie, because all there is bad stuff. Yeah. Katie's like, I'm out of here. People have amnesia in this house and I'm out. Tom, thank God Issa is there. Tom's like, should I go after her or... You know, I never know the right thing to say. Issa's like, no, she's de-escalating. Okay, yeah, okay. So now Kristen is saging her room and she's waving it around. I guess Stassi was in the doorway. Instead of the confession camp, Stassi's like, she saged me. Kristen saged me. Kristen has lived the first 35 years of her life in a blind, vengeful, drunken rage, helicopter punching anybody who came within her range. And now, after listening to Beau's mom for 15 minutes, she's suddenly Mahatma Gandhi. So everybody's kind of leaving now, and as Stassi leaves, Kristen said, I didn't want it to end like this. And Stassi said, then stop lying. And that is where the episode ends. Oh boy. I wonder if any of the other workshops that Issa has held in the past have ended worse than they started. They all learned about reptilian brain and then they all decided to execute their reptilian brains all at once. Okay, guys, oh my gosh, previews for next week. There could be trouble for TomTom. Looks like Sandoval and Katie are getting into it pretty bad. Looks like it's going to be a real uncomfortable week for Tom Schwartz. I will be back next Monday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of Vanderpump Rules. And I hope you guys join me. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. See you next week. Bye.